What's up, everybody? It's Henry with Conley Coaster Designs coming back at you with not a construction update, but a reaction to today's announcement. After 4 hours and 50 minutes of me doing these videos, after months of speculation between myself and Justin putting these videos together, we found out what we got right, what we got wrong, and, well, honestly, what Dorney Park's getting today. And it's exciting. It's everything we could have asked for, and then a little more. And I'll get into that as we start to break down in more of an analysis what we're getting. But for those who have not heard the news, we are getting one heck of a coaster built by one of the best roller coaster manufacturers in the industry, Bollinger and Mabillard, and it is called Iron Menace. And before I go any further, in case you, again, haven't seen, I have spliced up both off-ride footage and on-ride footage, a POV of this ride, so I'm going to stop talking for a second here. We're going to watch this thing because it's a beautiful ride. So before we start diving into talking about this ride and talking about the analysis of this ride, what it means for the park, what it can mean for the future of the park, and then some key details that we picked up on from the renderings, from the photos that were released, I just want to hit on a couple things. First off, I've seen some enthusiasts in the enthusiast community talking about how, oh great, it's a dive coaster, or, talking about how short it is. I've even seen the general public saying how short it is. And yes, it is an incredibly short ride. Just over 2,000 feet long, but it's going to pack a punch. It's going to have 4 different inversions in it, which is going to be amazing. It's going to have the one of the first incline loops that we've seen in a long time. In fact, the first incline loop on a B&M dive machine. And it's going to be the first dive machine on the East Coast. This is going to be the first B&M dive coaster on the East Coast. So, though it's short, it packs a punch, and though it's short, it's giving Dorney Park a lot of things that it can say they have the first of on the East Coast, which helps draw in more people, and hopefully we continue to see more investments like this into the park's future. And as we've heard from Ryan at Dorney Park PR today, there are potentially things that they're looking at down the road. So this coaster, again, it's small. Yes, it's a dive machine, and I know for some of the enthusiast community, they consider it a one-trick pony, but Bollinger and Mabillard has really stepped up their game on dive machines recently, especially in the last few years, especially with these narrow trains, these narrow tracks. In fact, this is only the second of its kind. This is only the second 7-seater B&M dive machine of this kind, the first being Dr. Diabolical's. So there's a lot of things that come out of this roller coaster being added to Dorney Park's collection that really work in Dorney Park's favor moving into the future. And as we've seen with Dorney Park's Haunts, they're tying this thing into an incredible storyline. And this storyline, it ties itself back to other parks' history, Knott's Berry Farm specifically. And this coaster is just drenched in history, not only in Pennsylvania, not only in the Lehigh Valley, but in Cedar Fair's history too. And again, it's Bollinger and Mabillard, a company that this park is used to working with. Between Hydra and Talon, we have 2 very incredible Bollinger and Mabillard products already in the park. Hydra being a button pusher of itself, though it's not an incredibly large coaster, it really does pack a punch, and that JoJo roll is a element that's talked about throughout the enthusiast community and the general public alike. And then Talon, which is regarded as one of the best inverted coasters and best inverted coaster layouts out there. So Bollinger and Mabillard building our newest roller coaster really is just spelling out good things for the park, because the maintenance staff already knows how to work on this. Ride ops are already familiar with Bollinger and Mabillard's operations and their systems, so we get a product that is going to really entertain guests and really be reliable. So we're going to dive right in here talking about Iron Menace and what we were able to pull from it and what this means for the park. So skipping right into it, let's read the fact sheet. So it's going to be 2,169 feet long, lift height of 160 feet. It is going to have a beyond vertical drop, which is something me and Justin were talking about pretty much since he started helping out with these videos and started, being a part of this this little project I have going here. 95-degree drop. It's going to tie for the steepest dive coaster out there. It's going to have a max speed of around 64 miles per hour. They're projecting 1,140 riders per hour. Of course, operations can vary that. Hopefully they are slamming this thing and they are even exceeding that. That would be amazing. It's a dive coaster, as I said. The layout is custom for Dorney Park, featuring track and train that provides a first for riders in the Northeast. So it's going to have, the lift hill, as we all know, 160 feet tall, 95-degree angle. It's going to hold for 3 seconds, staring down that beyond vertical drop and giving you an unbelievable line of sight across the park. You are going to see Steel Force. You're going to see Thunderhawk. You're going to see Possessed. You're going to see across the park towards Talon. You're going to see towards Hydra. This is going to give some amazing views, and of course, some amazing views of the natural scenery that is around this area of the park. It'll dive immediately into an Immelman, followed by a zero-G roll, followed by a tilted loop and a 360 flat spin. So again, not a long ride, not a incredibly tall ride, but a ride that's going to pack a punch. It's going to give you that beyond vertical drop. It's going to give you a speed of around 64 miles per hour. As I said, it's going to hit you with 4 inversions back to back to back to back. So this thing's not going to hold up. It's going to be a relentless ride, and it's going to be amazing. Gray supports and autumn red track. It's going to look amazing. The track's going to have that feel that it looks like it's that glowing steel that you would see inside of a steel forge. 221 passenger trains, and I did hear Ryan in one interview say that for now, so is this thing possibly going to be able to run 3 trains? I don't know. Are they considering the possibility of adding a 3rd train if demand needs it, makes it a necessity? Absolutely possible. It's going to take up 2.7 acres. We already knew that part. Bollinger and Mabillard from Switzerland is going to be producing this. Of course, the steel for this ride is produced by Claremont Steel out in Ohio, but the other components of this ride are going to be shipped in from overseas. We actually already have been able to track a shipment that I believe landed on August 3rd, which comes from the company that seems to provide nuts, bolts, and stuff like that, hardware for Bollinger and Mabillard. It's the first B&M dive coaster in the Northeast. Again, it is going to be 99 years since the first roller coaster was opened at Dorney. It's 140 years that Dorney has operated in the Lehigh Valley. So this thing is just, it's exciting. And again, our first brand new roller coaster since Hydra. All right, so diving into this roller coaster, and a good graphic for you guys if you don't necessarily understand what I was saying when I was talking about the various different elements we're going to go through. Again, the 360 hold is going to be at the very top of this ride. It's going to be right after the lift hill. In fact, B&M is throwing out the book when it comes to their dive coasters and what they traditionally do. Now, there are a few roller coasters out there produced by B&M, and excuse me, dive coasters produced by B&M out there that also do this. But this is going to go straight from the lift hill to the hold brake, which is actually just a chain lift system. Traditionally, B&M dive coasters, they complete a turnaround before going into the drop, but due to how this park has the plot of land laid out, and obviously how Bollinger and Mabillard had to make this coaster work within the park, this is going to go straight into the holding brake. Again, the 95-degree beyond vertical drop, which is so exciting to see. It's definitely going to be very thrilling. It's the steepest drop in the park. Going straight into the Immelman, which is going to go over the midway. It's the reason that the planners that we've been talking about are going to be removed. In fact, if you've been at the park, you can see they have orange X's throughout that pathway in front of Possessed, and technically in front of Rita's, that go around the planners. That is the limit of disturbance line. That's kind of imaginary line that has been set forth as the limits of disturbance for the construction. That's where this Immelman's going to end up. You go straight into a barrel roll, which is going to go over top of the station. You're going to go into the tilted loop, which is going to put you over top of Zephyr's track into the corkscrew or the 360 flat spin. And then it's going to give you a nice hard bank turn right back into the brake run. One thing I'm going to say before we go any further on this is to ignore the station building, ignore the coverings for the line, ignore all of that, because based upon what we understand, those are not what the end product is going to look like. It's a rough idea of what the end product is going to look like, but it is not exactly what the end product will look like. So we're going to dive into kind of analyzing some things. The first thing I noticed when this video came out, it's truly exciting to see. This is going to be the park's first B&M that's going to have the vest restraints, which if you have not ridden a Bollinger and Mabillard roller coaster with the vest restraints, these are incredibly comfortable restraints. There's no head banging, there's no head thrashing. They hold you nice and tight to the seat. It is a beautiful design by Bollinger and Mabillard, and it's going to be wonderful having on this roller coaster. What you're going to see here in this shot here is going to be the incline loop, which again is going to be one of the first that we're going to see on a Bollinger and Mabillard dive machine. It's a very, very thrilling element. You saw them a lot on their older stand-up rides, but you haven't seen it in recent history from Bollinger and Mabillard. And again, this is going to be pretty much right in front of where you enter the park. So this element is going to be the first thing you see when you're pulling into the park in 2024. As you're pulling into the park, getting ready to ride this ride, it is going to stand out. It's going to dominate the skyline. Also, that lift hill is going to dominate the skyline. Now, looking more in depth on this, these photos, and this is where we want to get into the analysis, so we can start to speculate on some stuff and continue the speculation that has kind of dominated this video series and will continue to dominate this video series for the foreseeable future. One thing that Justin noticed, that I noticed at the same time, roughly, is that they were very incredibly detailed with this ride's rendering. The station, they were incredibly detailed with how it's going to look, roughly. Again, Ryan from Dorney Park PR said that this is not exactly what the station will look like, but it's a good idea what the station will look like. They were incredibly detailed with how the pathways are going to go, though I don't think it's exactly how the pathways are going to look. They did leave details out. Despite it being an incredibly detailed rendering, besides all this off-ride shots we have being incredibly detailed, they left stuff out. And one of the most glaring things that they left out comes at the base of the drop. On the prints for this ride, on what they submitted to South Whitehall Township, there is foundations for some sort of scenery object at the base of this ride. They left it out in the POV, they left it out in the off-ride shots, they left it out in any of the stills that they released. And I believe that is their way of attempting to still hold some of that, I guess, secrecy and create just a little more excitement for when this ride opens. Those that haven't looked at the plans that were submitted to South Whitehall Township probably don't know about these minor details, including some minor details that happen after the 360 flat spin and up into the bank turn back into the brake run. These scenery elements, they left them out, and that was obviously intentional because they want to build anticipation for this ride, and they want to surprise the people who haven't looked at this, and it's nice to see. There's another key thing that they left very undetailed, and I have a feeling it has to do with the September 7th announcement that is coming up, and we'll get to that in a second here. Now, we're looking at another shot of this roller coaster from the Possessed Midway. Obviously, we are elevated off the Midway, but when you come down the Possessed Midway, this ride is going to dominate your vision. Now, the one thing that was made aware to us by Ryan from Dorney Park PR is that this is not the only structure in the area that will be updated and is looking to be made into a new theme, maybe a new name. Cedar Creek Flyers may not be Cedar Creek Flyers after this year. In an interview that Ryan from Dorney Park PR did, he talked about how they are looking at these two existing structures, one a ride, one a bathroom structure, and how to fit them into this entire layout of this area. Now, Justin and I had been speculating that they were going to turn this into a larger themed area than what it already is becoming. And one of the things that I mentioned was, what do they do with Cedar Creek Flyers? What do they do there? I never thought to touch on the bathrooms, but Cedar Creek Flyers, as it sits right now, would be a glaring eyesore to this incredibly themed area. And as I said, this falls in line with what Cedar Fair has been doing at other parks. You look at Carowinds, you look at some of their other bigger parks. When they install these themed areas, they go through and re-theme attractions, and they go through and re-theme structures within that section, which plays into what I think is going to come for Dorney Park, which I will get to at the very end of this video. So, being that they are talking about re-theming flying scooters and re-theming the bathroom, they did say that the bathroom will get a new facade on the outside to match in with this. This is going to be one themed area, which leads us to the one structure that has not been talked about, or, sorry, was not detailed in the video, which is the haunt structure. The haunt structure in this video is one bland building. It looks like the original haunt structure. As I've shown in previous updates, the haunt structure looks a lot different. It is starting to get that industrial look. It is starting to look like that rundown factory. And obviously, as I'm going to speculate, the haunt structure is McTavish's former steel mill. That is where he took the steel, or the ore, and turned it into steel. This ride is sitting where the mine that his Iron Menace rode through and was used to bring not only workers down and up, but ore down and up. This is where this ride is going to sit. So you're going to have Mr. McTavish's former factory set in a 1930s feel. You're going to have this roller coaster, which represents his fancy invention to speed workers and ore in and out of the mine. Obviously, that station building and the queue lines have that like almost 1930s steel shack look to them, which if you look at some old mining photos, kind of looks like what their buildings look like. Cedar Creek Flyers is obviously going to need to have a theme that fits in with this. The bathrooms are going to have something that fits in with this. But the haunt, that is the non-detailed building in this video. And I obviously am going to say, now that we know officially they're going to make an announcement on September 7th, that they left that so that way you had just that one last question as to what this ride is going to bring to you, what that attraction is going to be. Could this be a year-round haunt? Could this be a year-round haunt structure? I don't see how Dorney Park is going to let a haunt structure that is a part of the theme of this new roller coaster, which will be open year-round, obviously, flying scooters, which will be open year-round, and the bathrooms, which obviously are open year-round. I don't see how this section, that is their goal, is to bring it back to life. And anybody who's been to the park knows that this is a part of the park that generally doesn't get a lot of foot traffic. I don't see how that haunt structure is going to stay closed for the majority of the year. So, could the September 7th announcement be not only what officially that haunt building is, again, I believe it's going to be Mr. McTavish's factory, but that it's going to be a year-round part of the haunt. Not just something that we experience during the Halloween haunt, but all year round. It's something that we can hope for. The haunt enthusiast in me definitely wishes this was a thing. I wish there were more year-round haunted attractions in this area. But Dorney Park, they're known for the haunt. They could do it, and they could make it happen. So I think that that's what we're going to hear on September 7th. Now, this is going to be your 360 flat spin. This is going to take you from the incline loop over Zephyr. It's going to take that flat spin right over top of the brake run, the entrance to the brake run, and then take you back around into that hard overbank turn. What I want to talk about here is Zephyr. Zephyr, as I said, it will be back next year. It's going to follow the exact same pathway that it already follows based upon what was submitted to South Whitehall Township, but Zephyr is going to add something or have something added to it for next year. And that's the beauty of this ride. This ride not only is great for the roller coaster enthusiasts, it's not only great for the general public that likes to ride roller coasters. The haunted attraction is not only great for the haunt enthusiasts, but for those who maybe aren't ready to ride Iron Menace, or maybe are just not roller coaster people. Zephyr's going to give you something. And there is a tunnel there, and Justin and I were both speculating that there's probably going to be some sort of theming. Maybe some sort of, stop for the Zephyr there. Maybe the Zephyr will stop in there, and maybe it will go through some sort of show element inside of that tunnel. The one thing that I noticed right away when looking at this was that it almost felt like the Zephyr was a train coming into, and I originally was thinking like into the steel factory to dump iron ore or to pick up slag. It almost feels like the Zephyr is going to pull into this tunnel to receive the ore that has been brought out by the Iron Menace and the workers who were brought down by the Iron Menace. So could we see some sort of show within that, even if it wasn't something that the Zephyr stopped in but rode through, that kind of tied in that storyline and tied in that theme, and continued the entire storyline of this entire ride and this entire new themed area, even into an attraction with such a storied history as that of Zephyr. So Zephyr definitely looks like it is going to be getting something amazing added to it. And again, this is going to be great for those who aren't the enthusiasts or who are not ready to ride this ride, or maybe will never ride this ride. It gives something for everyone. This isn't just a thrill ride. This isn't just a haunted attraction. This is a family attraction themed to the area, themed to steel, themed to something that this park is, this area is known for, and now we're tying railroads. Something else that this area is known for. The Dorney Park has knocked it out of the park with this ride. They are tying so much of the history of the Lehigh Valley, and for the most part, Greater Pennsylvania, into this one attraction that is being built. So it's very exciting. Obviously, you can tell I'm extremely excited about this. I can't wait for it to open. But back to the glaring issues I have here, which is that there is no indication of what the theming is going to be. Except that Justin noticed something that I didn't. So, of course, in the brief, I guess, announcement video that Dorney Park posted this morning before adding in the off-ride shots and the off-ride shots of the various elements and, of course, the POV, Justin caught something. And what he caught is this at the base of the lift hill. Now, the foundation that's going to be at the base of the lift hill is a round foundation. It almost looks like the coaster's, the very bottom of the drop is going to be right in the dead center of it. And from this rendering, we're able to see that this almost molten appearance to it. And it's round. The scenery objects that are there are all in a circular fashion. So could we see Dorney Park add some sort of maybe diving into molten steel, diving into molten slag, something like that down there? And, use maybe fire effects down there to help accentuate that you are diving into this molten steel or this molten slag. Could that be one of the scenery elements? I speculate that that's what this is going to be. And we did see a pad off to the side of, or in the construction documents, for a propane tank. And could that propane tank be completely unrelated to this? Absolutely. But the enthusiast in me, the person that wants this thing to be the most badass roller coaster out there, I want fire. And I think it would be an excellent addition to this park. The other thing that I want to hit on here is how great this ride is going to look if they use fog throughout the ride with the proper lighting package. This coaster could look literally like it's rising out of the smoke of the foundry. Like it's rising out of the smoke of the mines. Dorney Park has so many things they can do with this ride to help increase the experience. And that's why I think this is the greatest thing they could have done. Now, I didn't get permission from Ibby on Twitter, but if you are on Twitter, definitely go check them out. They got a ton of construction photos from today. The Dorney Park did not wait at all to start working on this ride. They've already torn down trees. They've already started ripping up the service road. I guarantee you by tomorrow they're going to be doing even more clearing. Heck, since Ibby left the park, they could have started demolishing the pavilion structures. But the one photo that Dorney Park did at least release, the excavator that was there that I theorized was going to be used for the pavilions and could very well be used for the pavilions still, is actually right now ripping up the service road and probably has already finished that. And they were already hauling out dump truck after dump truck after dump truck of debris. So Dorney Park's not wasting time on getting this ride done. They are full bore ahead. They want to go. And they could very well pull off a March opening if they keep at the pace and we have a mild winter. Now, to close out this video, what does this do for Dorney Park? I think this really gives us an indication of where the park is headed. Now, they can't build any more rides over a certain height without removing rides in order to use the height waiver that they have for a current ride for a new ride. But I don't believe that applies to any rides that are below that height. So, could we see future projects coming down the line? It almost felt like Ryan from Dorney Park PR was hinting at that. When he was talking about the design process and how they went from what was originally going to be that GCI shuttle coaster, Gravity Group shuttle coaster, to this, he was talking about how it would have been great to have a wooden coaster, another one, in the park. And I believe what he said exactly was, that doesn't mean it won't happen in the future, or something to the effect of that. And if you remember on my 5-year plan, I was speculating that a GCI wooden coaster would be a great addition to this park. You don't have to go super high. You can make it a terrain coaster. So could we see maybe a GCI terrain coaster come into the park in a few years? I think if this ride pays itself off, and if this does for attendance what I think Cedar Fair and Dorney Park want to see, I think we very well could see another capital investment. Not in 2025, but maybe in 2026 or 2027. I don't want to venture too deep into the speculative world on that type of stuff. That's too far down the road. I like to make wish lists. I don't like to say definitively when it will happen. But it kind of gives indication that the idea of this is that the future of this park is going to be continued capital investments and really unlocking the potential of Dorney Park. So this is really exciting. So if you don't have a season pass, I highly recommend getting a season pass right now. They're running a special, and I forget when it ends, but they're running a special on the season passes that's going to get you an exclusive perk that has to do with this new roller coaster. So you don't want to miss out on that. You don't want to miss out on this ride. And if we all who are season pass holders renew, if you're not a season pass holder, you go get that, or you just buy tickets and come to the park next year and spend some money in the park. I think this attraction will pay off how Dorney and Cedar Fair want to see it, and we will continue to see further investments in this park. Maybe we won't have to go on a long dry streak without a brand new custom roller coaster again. So anyway, my name's Henry Conley with Conley Coaster Designs, tongue twisters today. Thank you for watching. Again, we're all enthusiasts. We're this weird niche group. You've heard me say it a bunch of times. We're coaster nerds. This stuff gets us excited. It gets the general public fairly excited, but they're not the ones that are going to sit through a 20-plus minute video on this. Thank you.